Welcome back to the It's Sweezy podcast. Ready for a little NBA breakdown. I know we are a little late to the party because it started a couple weeks ago, but definitely wanted to give out some picks of what we're expecting for the season, a little bit of the top five, bottom five for each of the East and the West conference, as well as what teams have a chance to compete for the finals. Jake, where do you want to start at?
Yeah, so obviously NBA is kicking off. First 7 games been pretty wild. Got a chance to see a Kings game, the first couple against the Blazers. They ended up catching a dub, so it was pretty fun to watch DeRozan light the beam. But yeah, let's start in the East. Kind of the first 5 teams that jump off the heat of the paper right so far are the Celtics, Cavs, Nets, Knicks, and Heat. Kind of go in order, whatever team you want to pick. But obviously, the Celtics are the reigning champs. They look great so far. Haven't really dropped a game as far as I know. Maybe just the one in overtime to the Pacers. But other than that, they've been pretty flawless. The Cavs have had a great start to the season so far, as well as the Nets and the Knicks. Really wasn't expecting the Nets to start this well. I figured it might take a little bit of time for them to gel, especially losing a couple of their main players, especially from last season. But Ben Simmons has got that team actually playing pretty good ball, so it's pretty fun to watch them. Then the New York Knicks obviously made a couple of big moves, getting Cat on the team, and he's gelled pretty seamlessly with Jalen Brunson. You kind of predicted that, and I kind of figured it might take him some time, but man, so far it's looked great for the Knicks. And then obviously the Heat are still the Heat. Still have Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. They're still a really good team. So why don't you go ahead and talk about those first 5 teams a little bit?
Yeah, with the first five, obviously the one that stands out is the Cavs for me so far being undefeated. Kenny Atkinson's doing a great job piecing that team together. I think it was important for them to get Garland going. He was always kind of a pass first guy. I think having that second bucket getter is extremely important if they want to have a chance to go out and win the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think they will win it. I think the Celtics will mop the floor with pretty much anyone. Everyone discredits their run last year because of injuries, but I think they would have beat anyone, healthy or
Yeah.
not. So I do think that the Celtics run it back. I think they win back-to-back chips. I don't think anything can stop them outside of injuries. They're obviously 7-1 already. Aren't going to have Porzingis for the first 2 months, and it's not looking like it matters.
Yeah.
All defensive player, 25 point per game. Shot blocking, space the floor. Like Jalen Brown hasn't been there for every game, and they're just phenomenal. Um, the Nets, yeah, like you said, a little shocking so far. They're scoring the ball like anybody can, which kind of reminds me of the Kings from a few years ago. And
Yeah.
they ended up pulling the 3 seed because they played not a lick of defense, but they would put up 120 a game.
Yeah.
And so the Nets are kind of doing that with Cam Johnson scoring. Cam Thomas is putting up 32 a game. Dennis Schroeder's been putting up 23 and 8 a game. So that's been kind of fun to see what they do. I'm not expecting it to continue as the season goes on. Maybe squeak in the playoffs, but not make any noise past that. The Heat are going to heat. Um, Jimmy said on the starting five show that he's going to try this season. He looks the exact same as every other regular season, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I do think it's going to be interesting to have a full season with Terry Rozier there,
Yeah. True.
and Hero, and then like you said, Bam's been playing well. So interested to see how that kind of goes. Not expecting much from the Heat yet again, but you can never count out Spolstra or playoff Jimmy once they get there. And then the Knicks, yeah, I think the Knicks are probably the biggest competition, biggest threat for the Celtics as the season goes on, continuing to get health, continuing to gel. Obviously, Bridges is new to that team as well. Granted, he's played with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
He hasn't with Cat, and interested to see how that continues to go. I do think they need a little more bench depth after getting rid of so much to get Cat. So interested to see how that plays out. And yeah, that kind of does it for those first five.
Yeah. And then second 5, we got the Bulls, Pacers, Magic, Hawks, and Pistons. I feel
Mhm.
like out of those 5, the one that really sticks out to me is the Pistons. For them to be kind of slotted into the 10th slot, 3-5 so far to start the season. I feel like that's pretty good work for them. Obviously, they've been struggling the last 5-10 years. They've been pretty much the laughing stock of the NBA. The other one, other than the Kings, pretty much. So it's nice to see them kind of pulling out a little bit earlier this year. They have a really young team still. I know they traded away a few players, so hopefully they can kind of build some momentum and kind of keep themselves into the Eastern Conference picture because I mean they definitely have a much better chance in that conference. And then The Hawks obviously sitting there in the 9 slot. It's kind of where I expect them. They don't really seem like they're too deep in personnel, but Trey Young, they have a couple other really good players. They did get rid of DeJounte, but they have Capella. Um, is John
Jalen
Collins? John
Johnson's a
Collins isn't
stud.
there anymore. Yeah, Jalen Johnson's there now. But yeah, they got a couple
Zachary
studs over
Resarcher
there.
was their rookie. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Hawks are decent, and then obviously the Magic we were talking about last year. So far they're in the 8 seed right now. Expecting
Mhm.
them to be a little bit better, but I mean, obviously this is probably more towards the position they should have ended last season, like more towards the 5-6 spot. But yeah, the Magic are always going to be there. I do think they're still really young, so it could, and with Bankero out now, it could take them a little bit of time to kind of ramp it up. But yeah, I do like the Magic a lot, and then obviously the Pacers with Halliburton are just continuing to get better. First few games of this season, they didn't look great, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So if I can kind of figure that out, and then the other one is the Bulls. The Bulls just kind of always seem to be there, especially in the East. Especially like the East isn't nearly as stacked as the West, so they definitely are the team that always just kind of lingers there, right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, going off that, I think the Bulls have a good shot at the playoffs this year. I don't think they realized how good Josh Giddey was when they traded for him, and I think
Yeah,
everyone thought that was a good trade for the Thunder, except for me. Josh Giddey's a stud, and he's only, I think he just turned 22. He does a little bit of everything. He's lengthy, so he's a good defender, and he's going to go get you 12, 7, and 7 every night and not care if he's the one with the ball. Zach Levine's also come back. He's looked good. He's scoring the ball well, and maybe they'll find some trade value for him this year because he wanted out last year. I like Montas Buzelis. He's not getting many minutes off the bench quite yet, but he was their rookie, I think 10th or 11th pick. And yeah, overall, I mean, they're moving the ball well. Kobe White looks good. Vucevic is doing his thing. So interested to see how they do. I think they do pull through and make the playoffs. Nothing past the first round. Pacers, like you said, I think are a fun team. Just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and that was without one of my favorite players in the league is Benedict Mathurin, who's a bucket. Guy gets 18 a game off the bench like it's nothing.
yeah,
Having him, having Pascal, having Tyrese Halliburton, having Miles Turner, I think they're a fun team. I think they do have a chance at getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think matchup depending. The Cavs, Celtics give me the most scare with that. Outside of that, you would think the Sixers are going to turn it around to the Bucks maybe at some point.
we'll see.
But yeah, who knows? I definitely like the Pacers. They'll make the playoffs again. I think they're a fun young team. Again, high volume scoring, like you mentioned. The Magic I love, but Paolo's out 6 weeks. Interested to see how they can hang around while he's out. I know Wendell Carter just went in. He just got hurt. Uh, so the Wagners will step up with Suggs and kind of go from there. They should be fine to make the playoffs, at least the play in, and get going kind of once Paolo's back. I liked the pickup they got of KCP in the offseason. Obviously coached pretty well with Mosley. And then Atlanta, Jalen Johnson is plus 1,000, and Jalen Williams is plus 1,000 for most improved player. They're my two favorites for that award. I love Jalen Johnson. I think he's a stud. I think he's only 21 still, coming out of Duke, and I'm pretty sure his third year. He's a baller. He gets boards, he scores, he passes the ball well, and he's lengthy as well. I think he's going to be a star in the next couple of seasons, and he's going to kind of develop this year with Dejounte not being there. Someone else has to step up.
Yeah.
So I like him. Don't love the Hawks, but it'll give Trey another season to do his thing, put up 31 and 10, and I'm interested to see if he sticks around in Atlanta or if he looks for a new destination to try and win. Um, and then the Pistons are the last of that little bunch. And
Yeah.
uh, Pistons are going to piston. I think they won't make the playoffs again. I do really like Durham. I do like Ivy. I do like Cade Cunningham. And Tobias Harris, I think, is kind of what they needed to get a veteran that is going to go get 15. And he's heard the critics for the last 5 years in Philly. Like, he doesn't really care anymore. He's just going to go do his thing. And I think that's a good piece to help them try and develop more because for the last 10 years, like you said, they haven't developed anyone.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. They're super young still. Tobias there, they definitely add a lot of experience to that lineup. So hopefully can kind of bring that for them and keep them in the running. But for now, I'm not expecting too much out of them for sure. Then the last five in the Eastern Conference, kind of rounding it out so far. Two shocker teams so far, obviously the 76ers and the Bucks, and then the last three teams kind of expected to be there: Washington, Charlotte Hornets, and the Toronto Raptors. Um, Wizards just don't expect much out of them. I don't think they really have anybody left over there other than Kuzma, who I think is injured right now. So they're not too much to watch. Charlotte Hornets, obviously LaMelo's there. They are actually a pretty fun team to watch. Brandon Miller, but they're super young, don't have a lot of experience, so I don't really expect a whole lot of winning out of them either. And then the Toronto Raptors, obviously, they just don't really have the personnel in Toronto. I feel like they're missing a couple big stars to be at least viable to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
But until they get some sort of star player, they're just going to kind of be lingering in the bottom five. And then obviously the 76ers and Bucks, the big surprises. Embiid, don't know what's going on with him. Feels like ever since James Harden's been traded, he's just been like kind of off his rocker with that team. So I don't know if it was because of the Harden thing and all that fallout, especially with the rest of the last season. But yeah, something doesn't seem right there. And then Milwaukee, that's the biggest shock for me. I expected they would. They're usually a team that starts pretty hot. So and Giannis doesn't seem like he's slowed down. So it just seems like there's a lot of team cohesion issues. I don't feel like Chris Middleton's had any sort of a decent start to the season from the games I've watched. I don't think he's scored all that much. So I feel like they
has he
need to find
played
ways
yet?
to get him involved if he's played. Yeah,
I'm
I
not
haven't
sure. I
watched
know
too
last night he
much,
didn't play, but I don't know if he's played or not.
but yeah, it just feels like they don't have kind of everybody, and from what they do have, they don't really have a whole lot of cohesion. So hopefully the Bucks can start to get it together because they are a fun team to watch, and I do think that they are one of the teams that can challenge when they're healthy and playing good ball. But like we talked about a lot last season, they have yet to really perform defensively since Dame's been added into the lineup and they got rid of Drew Holiday. So until we can see that, when are they going to start winning? So
Yeah, starting off with those first couple of teams, the Wizards suck. I do think it's interesting to see how Alexander Sarr is going to be able to develop in the lineup. Obviously, with the number one pick, that's who they got. He's getting 2.8 blocks a game so far, so definitely great defensively. Offensively, he's going to have to take time to develop. With Kuzma out, he's able to do that a little bit now. The only other one scoring the ball is Jordan Poole. Overall, just not a good team. I do think they have some of the most interesting trade assets going into this upcoming off season or even trade deadline. Jonas Valanciunas went there for $10 million a year, so it's a good trade for anyone to go at him as a big who can dish the ball, shoot threes. I do think the Lakers are a perfect trade destination for him to allow them to add a little bit of depth, a little bit of rebounding, and spacing the floor. They also have Malcolm Brogdon, who's injured all the time, it seems like. So
yeah,
when he's healthy, he's a 20-point per game player, 5 assists, 90% free throw, 39% three. Like he's a good player to have. And I think those will both be pieces to keep an eye on, as well as Kuzma and Jordan Poole. The Raptors, like you said, just kind of suck. I'm very uh, shocked kind of by Grady Dick's performances so far this year. I'm pretty sure he's averaging 24 a game.
yeah, he's
He's
playing
getting
great.
he's getting buckets. So shout out to him for playing well. Scotty Barnes is kind of the only other piece that they have over there. So they just don't have the personnel. The Hornets, like you said, young, fun. LaMelo is always must see TV. Brandon Miller's a bucket.
Yeah,
Mark Williams has been good. Miles Bridges has been solid. Trey Mann balling for them. He's putting up about
yeah,
25 and 5 off the bench. Came from obviously Florida to the Thunder. Thunder developed him for a couple years, traded him off, and
yeah,
that Thunder development team is incredible.
yeah,
So interested to see how they do. I would like to see them make the playoffs. I feel like they'll sneak in the play in and maybe have a chance at it. But yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. And then yeah, Sixers and Bucks. No Embiid yet. Paul George just made his debut last night. They'll get it together. Not expecting much. Probably a 6 or 7 seed and a loss in the first round. Embiid's not going to play back to backs all season long. He hasn't even played in the first 6 or 7 games. Um, yeah, not too sure. Maxi's a dog. The rest of the team, I mean, they have the depth to be able to fight for the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm never going to trust Embiid to get there. So I'd be interested to see if they look at possible trade value depending on how the season goes.
yeah,
And then with the Bucks, 1-6, slowest start. I don't think Middleton has played yet. Brooks looking a little old. Giannis is just doing his thing.
yeah,
Dame doesn't play a lick of defense. Gary Trent doesn't play a lick of defense. And yeah, like we said last year, I don't know why they got rid of Drew. They gave the chip to the Celtics. Celtics went and won it.
Yep.
Celtics will probably go repeat for the same reason, and the Bucks are. I think they'll move on from Giannis this year. I think I mentioned it a couple years ago. I think I thought they were going to trade Giannis to the Thunder for like Chet and some firsts, and then they went and got Dame, re-signed Brooke, re-signed Chris, and I was like, well, now what? Now Giannis is in the same position where he's like, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to go get this second ring. He keeps telling everyone like Jaylen Brown's the best player because he won the MVP for the team that won the championship. Before that, he said the same for Jokic, and like he wants to be that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So it'll be interesting to see how the season goes. I mean, I think they'll turn it around to be a playoff team, but not like a contender of any sorts. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the off season, probably, if not before the deadline, the Bucks look for a trade for him.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then, yeah, kind of transitioning to the Western Conference. Obviously, your Thunder sit there at the top again at number one. Then the Suns at two, Warriors at three, Rockets at four, and the Lakers at five. Biggest surprise meet for me so far is the way the Rockets have started the season. They look great so far. Obviously, the Thunder are doing their thing. I don't know if they're undefeated or if they have one loss, but either way, they're one or the other. They look great. The Suns are another big shock for sure. They look solid. Have had a lot of tough games to open the season. They've been able to handle them, especially late into the games in the fourth quarter. So that's fun to watch with Booker and KD. They're definitely two of my favorite players to watch right now in the NBA that aren't on the Kings. Then you got the Warriors, who obviously have had a really strong start to the season, including without Curry, which is pretty telling. They should be able to have a good season because Curry just comes back in and adds 36 and 7 a game. So the Warriors are definitely set up to make a good run this season. And then they got the Lakers, who are old balls with a few young guns, but they look pretty good. They are kind of rocky, a little bit hit and miss so far, but I do think they'll be able to get it together, and they're definitely going to be in the top five somewhere there.
Yeah, I love those teams. All five of them, I think, are making the playoffs. That started off. I think the Thunder are phenomenal. They'll probably come out with the one seed again. I don't think it's going to be enough just because they're young. I could see them making the finals. I'm hoping they make the finals, but I don't think they'd be able to knock off a Celtics team that's been there and done it together for 6 years now. Um, but the Suns, phenomenal. I love the spacing that D'Antoni brings to that. Is it D'Antoni?
I
Brings
think
to the
so.
team, and just the way that they added Tyus Jones on um, a minimum is just awesome for them. So yeah, excited to see how that team continues to do. Grayson Allen's obviously now healthy, coming off the bench, and I think he'll get back into the starting lineup. Most likely, it's Budenholzer, by the way, coming over from the
There we
Bucks,
go.
who
Yeah.
obviously won a chip a few years ago. So yeah, Mike, I think that's a perfect fit for them. Honestly,
Yeah.
they are 30-1 to win it all, 12-1 to win the West, and honestly, I think that's my favorite play. I think the Suns are going to win the West this year. I think the Thunder are going to have a chance to compete with them, as are the Mavs. Uh, and if the Mavs play the Suns, I'm going to be scared because Luca owns Devin Booker.
Yeah, they
But
does.
if the Mavs get knocked out by someone else, then I think the Suns would have a good chance to win the West or at least be in the Western Conference Finals. Rockets are fun. Ime Udoka is a great coach. I love Alperen Sengun. They were great
Yeah.
until he kind of went down near the end of last year. Jalen Green looks good. Van Vliet has started very slow, and yet they're still winning games. Jabari Smith, obviously getting Cam Whitmore, Oscar Thompson, or no, Amon Thompson. Yeah,
Dylan
it's a
Brooks
fun.
is over there too, so they had
Dylan
some.
Brooks is
They
still
have
over
some
there with
good
great defense.
defense. Yeah,
So
they
they
have
have a
some
fun
good
team. I do
defense.
think that they'll make the playoffs. They're still 11th expectation for the West right now. So there's plus value to have them make the playoffs, which I like. Uh, the Lakers still need depth and rebounding. When AD sits down, no one grabs boards. I think
Yeah.
Valanciunas is a perfect fit. Brogdon, obviously, I think they should go get Bogdanovich. He's a 15 point per game bucket off the bench, doing
Yep.
nothing with the Hawks. I know he's
Sure.
injured for the next 4 weeks. I believe it was a hand surgery. But he's a bucket. I think he'd be a great piece for any team that is competing and needs bench depth. And then the fifth team, was the
Is
Warriors.
yeah,
So the Warriors haven't played anyone yet.
true.
Their hardest game is twice against the Pelicans, which they won both without Curry. More power to them. I don't think the Pelicans are going to be any good this year. Bi doesn't seem like he wants to be there. They lost Valanciunas. Dejounte had surgery. Zion, I'm not expecting to remain healthy all year.
True.
Uh, I think Bi is going to be traded this year as well. Uh, I think that could be a potential candidate that goes to the Warriors actually. So I'm interested to see kind of what happens there. Uh,
Man, I
I
would not
don't.
want to see Brandon Ingram and Andrew Wiggins on the same team. Man, that would suck, especially on the
Yeah. So
Warriors.
yeah, interested to see how that one plays out. I don't think the Warriors are going to make the playoffs despite their hot start, even without Steph. Uh, I like Tristan Jackson Davis. He's another candidate I think could be in that most improved running. I think Kuminga ends up getting traded, probably with Moody. Uh, but yeah, I mean, Draymond looks good again. Um, Wiggins, Steph, Looney. I mean, they have the team that's been there, but I think the West is too deep. So even if they make it, I don't see them coming out the first round.
Yeah, for sure. And then the kind of the second half of the West, got the Mavs, Timberwolves, Nuggets, Kings, and Grizzlies. That's a pretty solid bunch of five right there from 6 to 10. Kind of obviously the Mavs first. Obviously had a big run last season. I expect them to do the same thing this season. They just got a lot better with Klay Thompson, and I can't remember who the big guy that they added was, but either way, Derek Lively's coming into his second or third season with them. He looks really good. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm expecting the Mavs definitely keep themselves in the mix. The Wolves, I was a little bit shocked that they have had a little bit of a struggle to start the season. Obviously, it sucked watching them beat the Kings, but yeah, I figured that they would just. They have Anthony Edwards. He's definitely, I would say, top three player in the NBA right now. So it just kind of was shocking to see them start all the way down in seventh. I don't know if they'll be able to pick it up either, just because I don't know if they're a team that's going to have the consistency this year. They have a lot of older guys on their team that aren't Anthony Edwards. So just being able to keep those guys in gear for the majority of the season, I feel like is going to be a big problem for them. Also, look out for the injury bug with them. Then the Nuggets, kind of the same thing. It feels like kind of a lot of their guys are starting to get on the older side. Now, obviously, they do have a few younger guys still. Um, Shout out Christian Braun with that massive throwdown on Rudy Gobert. That was
Gobert,
absolutely
yeah.
ridiculous. But yeah, no, I feel like the Nuggets are slowing down a little bit. I don't feel like they're going to be a top five team in the West this season. It just feels like there's a lot of other teams with more firepower this season. I do like what they did in the offseason and keeping a lot of their guys and just keeping the core group around. But yeah, I just don't have a lot of confidence in them this season. The Kings, obviously, I think that they did the right thing in going out and getting DeRozan, paying him some money, and seeing how he fits on this team. I think he fits super seamlessly into Harrison Barnes' role. I don't think he adds any more or less defense that Harrison Barnes added, but surely on the offensive side, he is a bucket every time he gets on the court, even at 34, 35 years old. So that's super fun to watch. I'm a huge DeRozan fan, have been since he was drafted in 2009 from SC. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Kings this season. I don't expect them to finish in like a top five of the West team, but if they can get into the playoffs, stay out of the play-in, maybe win the first round of playoffs, I consider that like a successful season for them. Maybe set themselves up for a big run next season. And then the Grizzlies at 10. Jaw's back. He looks great. Obviously, it doesn't feel like they have a whole lot around him other than maybe Jaron. Kind of been surprised. It doesn't feel like Desmond Bane's really been all that great to start the season. I kind of expected him to start a little bit better. But yeah, the Grizzlies are still going to be there. They still have Jaw, who's when he's in his right mind, he's definitely one of the best players in the NBA. So yeah, the Grizzlies will remain there.
Yeah, this five, all five of them will make the playoffs. I definitely think that this year, if not the playoffs, they'll all be in the play-in. Like these top 10, I think stay the top 10 all the way through, even though it's only 6 or 7 games in. Starting, like you said, with the Mavs, just in the finals, added Klay Thompson as a shooter, spaces the
Yeah,
floor. Gafford and Lively both look good. They went and got Spencer Dinwiddie again after he was with them a few years ago. I think that adds some good bench depth for them. I can't not keep them in the Western Conference Finals, like kind of race. Like I think it'll be the Thunder, Mavs, Suns, like all right there. Maybe the Lakers competing with it as well. So I think that they'll be right there. Obviously, health should be a big part of it, but Luca, Kyrie, Clay seem to be doing well so far. Anthony Edwards is a stud. I like I said, I didn't love the trade. I think it's a good trade for them because um, they got DiVincenzo, who's 20 points off the bench, as well as getting Julius Randle, who fills the same kind of role that Cat does. I don't think he's as much of a worry for defenses to guard when he's on the perimeter as Cat is, with Cat's ability to shoot. And also, Julius Randle always goes left. If anyone has seen him ever
Yeah,
play,
true.
you just guard that, and it kind of slows you down. So I don't think they'll be as good this year. But Ant's a dog, and Chris Finch is a great coach. So interested to see how they do. They definitely have some depth in adding Dillingham as well in the draft. So I like them. Nuggets, like you mentioned, aren't that good this year. A lot of the same role pieces. I think losing KCP was huge for them.
Yeah.
Perimeter defender who just shoots it and just does his role. I think every team needs those guys that just do their role. Jamal injured, which gives Russ the opportunity to come off the bench. Like last night, he went for 21, 6, and 6. Like he could still do that every night if he's starting, which he did, but he's not. He's not a bench player. He needs the minutes. He needs the ball
Yeah.
in his hands. And I don't realistically see that happening unless they trade Jamal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and if they did that, I don't know if they'd necessarily trade Jamal when he's the one that continues to hit daggers in the playoffs. I
Yeah.
think they'd more likely give up MPJ, but then he's a bucket, but he doesn't
Yeah.
pass it. So, yeah, there's give and take. I don't think that their depth is there with Strawther, Brown, to be able to do much. Past that, never going to rule out Jokic, but I think that they need to get some depth if they want to continue to compete in the West. Uh,
Yeah.
Kings really like it. I think they're going to make the playoffs, pull an 8 seed this year. Um, I think Sabonis was really upset when they lost the 8-9 matchup with the Pelicans last year per the starting five show. And
Yeah.
I think he's ready to get there. I think DeMar is a winner.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he has never won it all, I love DeMar. I think he's a great player. I don't really see the fit next to Keegan. I feel like they're kind of the same player, except DeMar's better. So I think it could be good for Keegan to learn behind him. Um, this should be a fun team. I mean, they got a bunch of 20-point per game scores. They got five guys that can go for 25 any night.
Yep.
So definitely some depth there.
And
I
Monk
think
off
they
the
get
bench
back
for
to,
for 6 could go for 25 as well.
yeah, you got Monk, Herter, Keegan, Demore, Fox, Sabonis, all that can just go and do whatever, as well as Harrison Barnes is still there. Uh, is Harrison Barnes still there?
No, he got traded for and
That's
DeRozan
right. That's
trade.
right. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, six guys that can go put up 20. Definitely interested to see how they do. Again, too much depth in the West, I think, for them to make it out and
Yeah.
do anything, but definitely make the playoffs this year. Grizzlies, I love. They got Jock coming off an injury. They got Jaron coming off an injury. You said you're surprised Bain started slow. Again, he's coming off an injury.
True.
Um, Zach Edey looks phenomenal
Yeah,
so
he
far,
does.
filling in for that Steven Adams role. Another piece that was added to the Rockets that we didn't mention.
True.
Um, Big Steve down low. Yeah, Edey's look good. So I definitely like the Grizzlies. They're kind of like my sleeper to come out the West. 55-1 to win it all right now. They're fun. Just interested to see how they continue to come back, bouncing off of health. Roddy, actually, Roddy might be gone now, but Gigi Jackson got a lot of minutes last year getting to play while everyone was out, as did a lot of that team. So interested to see how they do. I think they could make some noise come playoffs if they get there. But again, depends on health and how well they can kind of bounce back. And
Yeah.
then that leaves us with those final five.
Yeah.
So
Final five got the Clips, Spurs, Trailblazers, Pelicans, and the Jazz. And honestly, it pretty much feels like those teams are all right where they belong. Maybe the Rockets mixed in there somewhere. Maybe take the Clippers out. Maybe we take the Pelicans out. I feel like of the two, the Clippers and the Pelicans are the two that wasn't expecting to be there. But then again, you have to look at it and it's like, well, the Clippers don't have Paul George this year, and Kawhi plays when he wants to. So maybe they won't be as good this year. And the Pelicans, maybe they have too many stars, and DeJounte Murray got hurt, and McCollum doesn't know his role with all those guys, and Zion doesn't know his role with all those guys. So I think that those are definitely the two that's like definitely going to look out for going forward that can make a big run. But the Spurs, Blazers, Jazz, unfortunately, I feel like the Spurs have a chance to be decent. I don't know exactly where I would put them at. I do think that Wemby is going to be a future star. I do think Chris Paul is a good addition. I do think they ended up getting Harrison Barnes in whatever trade that was. I think he is on the Spurs now, so they do have some veterans around Wemby that can win. So I do think they're going to be a better team, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to get them into the playoffs, maybe into the play-in at the 9-10 seed. But there'd have to be a lot to go wrong with a lot of the other teams in the West for that to happen. So yeah, other than that, Blazers, I just don't think they have the personnel this year to really be competitive. And same thing with the Jazz. So yeah,
Yeah, I definitely think Jazz are going to be the worst team in the league. Only thing that they have to offer, they think they're getting a first for Walker Kessler. I think they're mistaken, but you never
no,
know.
second or third
Laurie
at best.
Markkinen, Laurie's a dog. Jordan Clarkson's getting old, so I think he could be traded as a good asset for a competing team this year. But they'll be last, I think, in the West. I think right behind them is going to be the Blazers. Again, a team that's got like 12 guys that are all young and decent, but no development. It's kind of like a Pistons situation right now.
Yeah.
Anthony, maybe. Rob Williams, maybe. Aiton, I don't even know.
Eh.
Jeremy Grant could be traded. Like I think that could be a good fit for like a Lakers or something. Um, yeah, definitely a weird team. Fun, but not good. Pelicans, I think, will be right there. I could see some trades happening. I think Bi will probably be gone at some point this year. Kind of forget that CJ's even there with Jordan Hawkins and Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, and then you got your Zion and like
Yeah.
DeJounte Murray coming off the injury. So they don't have any bigs anyway. So I don't know what their kind of game plan is. And then those other two is the Clips and the Spurs. Like you said, Spurs I could see maybe sneak in like a 10 seed or something, make the play in. I don't think they will. I think these are going to be the bottom five in the West. But I definitely think they have a chance to win 30 games. The over under was only like 24 for their season total.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think 30, 35 maybe would be like a good season. Yeah, they had some good draft pieces as well. Sohan's good. Chris Paul's, a vet. Get Wemby going. Harrison Barnes there. Pop. Hopefully he's healthy.
Keldon
Just a
Johnson, when
couple.
he plays well, is fun.
Yeah, and Vassell as well. So
True.
yeah, definitely interesting. Clippers, like you said, Paul George is gone. Kawhi might retire. I don't know. He hasn't played yet. He's probably not going to for a good
I don't
while.
know.
It just gives Norman Powell and Zubox a chance to up, their value when they get ready for their next contract. Yeah, Harden's going to get the ball again, so it's kind of fun to watch. But not expecting much from that team either this year. Um, so yeah, that kind of does it for those teams. Overall, coming out that East, I think the top four are pretty obvious. I think it's definitely top two are going to be top three. I think are Knicks, Celtics, and Cavs. Cavs with that depth, having Karis LeVert, having Struess, and then having both your bigs that are great defenders. Garland, who's a great defender. Donovan Mitchell's going to get his 30. Like that's definitely a dangerous team. Celtics are defending champs. Knicks should be right there. Interested to see how the gel kind of goes. And then that other fourth spot, I do think it's going to be the Pacers. I just think that
Yeah.
the way that they're able to score the ball is going to outdo anyone. If healthy, the Sixers you can always throw in there. I think the Bucks blow it up this year,
Or the
so I'm not
Magic.
expecting much there.
Maybe the Magic in there.
Yeah, I mean,
If
I'll
they can
see
get
like the
Paulo back.
you know
Yeah.
the Magic, Hawks, Heat, that whole division. Like they'll
Yeah.
just be like all right, and I don't think they'll do much. But yeah, excited to see how the East kind of turns out. I do think those top two teams will be the Celtics and whoever else doesn't match up against each other. So
Yeah.
Knicks or Cavs. I think Cavs is probably my favorite pick for the season.
Yeah. No, I think that the Cavs so far look great. Donovan Mitchell's in the prime of his career right now, so it definitely makes sense to have the Cavs up there. Two very talented bigs, two really talented guards around him, and Isaac Okoro and Darius Garland. So makes a lot of sense. Then coming out of the West, who do you think?
Yeah, coming out the West, I am going to take the Suns this year. Again, they're 12-1 right now, 30-1 to win it all. Um, I really hope it's my Thunder. I still think we're too young, but I do think we have a good chance to make the Western Conference Finals this year. Depending on matchups, I think we would beat the Nuggets. I think we'd beat the Lakers. I think we'd beat the Warriors. I think we'd beat the Wolves. I think the two teams we wouldn't beat are going to be the Suns and the Mavs.
Okay.
So definitely interested to see how that goes. We are a great defensive team, and the Suns are a great offensive team. So like that matchup could be interesting. I think that'd be a fun Western Conference Finals. I kind of am just going to put the Mavs there because they already were there last year, won it, and then they added Clay and Dinwiddie
Hmm.
off the bench. So I do kind of want to keep them coming in. That fourth team with them, I think, will be interesting because obviously the Timberwolves could be there, the Nuggets could be there. I kind of like the Grizz to sneak through somebody. Um, or the Warriors have the assets to go trade for Giannis, so like
True.
be on the lookout for that. Maybe they could trade Kuminga and Moody and Trace Jackson and some firsts. Have Steph, Dre, Giannis, and some help, buddy. So that'd be interesting if they did something like that. But realistically, Thunder, Suns, Mavs, and then I'm going to take the Lakers under the assumption that they get some sort of help off the bench and with rebounding.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just gonna go Thunder, Suns, Mavs, and then I'm gonna go with the Kings as my fourth team.
Yep,
I feel like DeRozan's a winner. He is a proven veteran, so I feel like Sabonis now. He's had quite a few years in the league. Fox has had 5, 7 years in the league. So, what better time than now for the Kings? Hopefully, they can make a little run. Hopefully, I feel like if they can match up against the Thunder and maybe the semifinals, that could be a decent matchup for the Kings. Could see that game go deep into the series. So that would be super fun to watch for sure.
that'd be a fun one, definitely. Yeah, I think if the Kings continuously have the Lakers number, so if that's a matchup that they can get in the first round, if they can pull like a 4 or 5 seed or whatever that might look like, definitely I think they could win that, get to that second round, which would potentially be against a
Play the
one seeded
Thunder.
Thunder.
Yeah.
So I think that would be pretty cool. Um, Definitely think those top two are going to be between the Thunder, Suns, and Mavs this year, barring any big trades or anything like that. But I think Celtics get back. I think the Suns might get back, and I think that'd be super fun. KD, Beal, Booker, then obviously the defending champs. Celtics have everybody. I think they'll still run it back.
Yeah, definitely. All those teams have some of the best utility players in the league too. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the NBA pod. Appreciate everybody tuning in the first NBA pod of the season. But yeah, there's a little insight into what we think is gonna happen so far for the season. But yeah, if you guys like it, make sure you give us a like, subscribe, comment, turn on the notifications, and yeah, till next week, we'll see you guys then.
Yeah.
Peace.
See you guys.